Glad you're with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansson with Blake King and Brittany Harrington, Chief Operating Officer of Northern Alliance Financial. Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Are you getting comfortable?
I am. Day by day.
I love it. We love having you. We love having you because you have made this appointment TV for a lot of you in Maine, and we're grateful for that time. Even in that time, there are still questions. Should we do this or that? Because I've heard this or that. We're going to talk about a four-letter word today, annuity. Now, I know I can't count, but that has become a four-letter word for a lot of you saying, I've heard it's bad. Why have you heard it's bad? I don't know. I just know it's bad. Let me give you some numbers of people who say it's good, because annuity now has become a very big word for a lot of people trying to retire the right way. Total annual sales in 2024, $432.4 billion in annuity sales, which makes it the third record high, eclipsing $313 billion the year before, to $385 billion after that. Brittany, if this was something that a lot of people say it just doesn't work, and we hear from some of the big box firms who say, we don't do this, why $430+ billion in sales later is it making a difference in people's lives? Tell me that.
It makes a difference because it's protected from market volatility. So the principal that you put in, you'll never lose. But if the market goes up, you have the option to gain on those indices. And so you see how those indices play out over a year, and then your interest will accumulate at the end of those 12 months. So it's a protected product. While you can have your money in the market in a risk level you're comfortable with, you can take a piece and protect it from that.
So the answer to that is, I don't get everything, Blake. And I think that's what we've gotten used to in 40 years of accumulating, right? This is what we do as we work. And if I can't get all of that accumulation, why am I going to take something less? And I think this starts to move in that strategy of we're entering a different stage of life. And if you're working with an advisor who has said, let's accumulate, and we're not moving towards specialization, maybe we're missing the boat on some of the idea of where our money should be.
I think you could be missing the boat. And I think what's really important, that what we do at Northern Alliance Financial is we do empowerment through education, right? One of the things that has given annuities a bad rap throughout time is they may have not explored the pros, and their advisor may have not discussed about the pros and cons transparently, right? Where I find annuities in that regard is, as weird as it is, I call it an emotional regulator, right? It's a piece of the pie, because the people who have some of the most successful retirements are the ones that have peace of mind.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, if all of your money is in the market and you experience a 30% drop in your portfolio, you just lost 30% of your net worth. But what if you just split it in half and the market drops 30%, but this didn't? Guess what? You only experienced a 15% drop in your entire net worth. So it kind of helps keep people in perspective. They're like, I'm doing this. I know it's safe. It's okay. I'll give up some of the growth to give me that peace of mind.
Okay. Can I? When you hear the word annuity, there may be some people who are saying, "Yeah, I know what that is," and yet there are multiple types. You guys want to walk me through what the multiple types of annuities are, so we may have a ground floor understanding of what we're looking at?
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that. So the first one is called a single premium immediate annuity.
SPIA.
A SPIA, right?
Okay.
Guess what? Most people have a SPIA, whether they know it or not. It's their Social Security benefit.
There you go.
Right? When you turn Social Security, they have this pool of money, and they've been collecting off you for so many years, and then they say, hey, when you want to turn on that income, you can turn on that income, and we'll pay you indefinitely for the rest of your life. But heaven forbid something happened to you, those payments may stop to your beneficiaries, right? Depending on how it's structured. Then you have what's known as a multi-year guaranteed annuity. The way I like to describe it is it's a glorified CD. You know, you put money in, you have a fixed rate for a certain number of years. At the end, you've gotten that fixed rate no matter what the market does. But the unique thing about those, or at least for the companies that we work with, is our interest rates tend to be much more competitive than the banks, because banks have much smaller margins than we do. So the interest earning potential is not there. You have variable annuities, and I think that's the one that probably gives annuities a bad rap. They're riddled with fees, right? And depending on the variable annuity and the different riders that you have, I've seen variable annuities where the all-in cost annually every year is 4%.
Goodness gracious.
4% annually every year.
And people got into variable annuities, especially in the older days.
Yep.
Of saying, I want a part of the market, but I want a little bit of safety. And it was kind of misguided that you were going to have safety because of those fees and because of the volatility. It wasn't a safety vehicle that people thought.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's these riders on there that may have, like, say, if you turn on this income rider, it's going to provide you a pension benefit, and that grows at a certain rate of return every single year. But you may not be keeping that into consideration, because all you see is, hey, I put in 50 grand. After 10 years, I've got 60, right? Like that's you were like, I was touching the market. I thought I was going to be making a lot of money. Well, guess what? Those fees come out of your account balance.
Yep.
They come out of your account balance. And so that's the unfortunate thing. Then we have fixed index annuities, which is an area that we work in pretty regularly. The way that I like to describe it is, if the market goes up, you get a piece of the pie. If the market goes down, you don't lose anything. And that's a safety aspect, a peace of mind aspect, but also those things can even create pensions. And then the last one that's pretty common, they're called registered index linked annuities. They may be pitched as being safe, say, hey, you can get all the upswings, but we'll protect you on the downside. But keep in mind, we have a buffer zone. Yeah. So if that index drops 20%, which we've seen the market do that, you're going to get dollar for dollar losses after that 20%.
I got it. Or do I have it? Look,
it's confusing.
What's the most important thing for me to know, Brittany, about having multiple choices in this?
So the first thing is to identify what your goals are. So if you don't need income later in life, we're going to focus on accumulation. And if you prefer to not lock in for a 10-year product, we'll look at those multi-year guaranteed annuities, because you're going to get a guaranteed rate for the life of that annuity. Say you do a 3-year, you're out in 3 years, you can reinvest it, or it's liquid for you. And then if you're looking for income, then we look at the income rider ones. And so what you can do there is you have the option to get guaranteed income for the rest of your life, or you can choose a joint payout, so it also pays your spouse for the rest of their life. And then if there is accumulation value left over at the end, then that will be distributed to your beneficiaries.
You said it at the beginning, which is beautiful. Purpose determines the placement.
Exactly.
For the money, which is why we're constantly talking about a plan. Do you have a plan? Does an annuity fit within the plan? It might. It might not, until you understand what you have and where you're going. What's the purpose? And that will determine the placement. That's when you make the call to 877-241-7430. Let's put together a complimentary written financial plan for you. Does it include an annuity? Does it include something to change what you've had that you haven't felt good about, and maybe now is the time to do that? 877-241-7430. Let's put together a plan for you and see whether or not it works. We'll talk more when we come back.
I got pulled into the financial advising space back in 2011. I started my career in Kansas City, Missouri, just kind of progressed throughout the industry and ended up getting my certified financial planning professional designation. And when I left Kansas City, I moved to Maine, and now I'm here with Northern Alliance Financial. What pushed me in the direction of the financial planning side of things is throughout my life, I've been really good at math. I've always been kind of a people pleaser, as well as just really caring about people intentionally and wanting what's in their best interest. And so it was really just a harmonious fit using my math skills as well as my ability to relate to people and be empathetic with them in their situations. I want to be able to get to know them, find out what their hopes, dreams, and wishes are, things on their bucket lists to see if we can make that come to fruition. And so it's really about building a good long-term working relationship. So I take a vested interest in my clients' interests as well as their passions, and I really just try to help whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, utilize the resources they have to their best of their ability.
Glad you're with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansson with Blake King, Brittany Harrington, Northern Alliance Financial. We're talking about annuities, and it may or may not be right for you, which is why we discuss. So how do we determine how it's used in somebody's portfolio when we determine, yes, this is right for you, Brittany?
So once we go over all the client goals, they're educated by the advisor, and you make the decision that you're going to move forward with an annuity. We'll present illustrations to the client that show if you're invested, for 10 years and then you want to turn on income, what that looks like for the client. So we can actually space it out, build that into their income plan, and then they're able to see that built in with their Social Security, their pension if they have one, and it just gives a really nice overall view for the client.
So this is usually, for many people, Blake, an income play. Look, all of us at the end of the day want a guaranteed income.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of that plan, yes?
It absolutely can be. And it's part of our actual, our personal financial plan that we provide to clients to help them understand, hey, where are the different cash flows going to be coming from? Because inside this binder, it's great. It takes into consideration, hey, the portfolio, the budget, the income, what's going to be the taxes associated to that. So let's just say your income need is $5,000 a month.
Okay.
Right? That's your budget. That's what you need. Your total Social Security benefits between you and your spouse or just you alone, let's just call it $3,000, right? And so that means we have a $2,000 a month deficit from a budgeting standpoint. What would happen if we just parsed part of your money? But you've got your whole money, but what if we just took a section and put it over into an income annuity so that it would meet your $5,000 a month budget, right? That would give you peace of mind. Hey, the steady cash flow, it's coming in, it's never gonna stop, it's gonna be there as long as I live. Then the rest of your money is in the market, and your market rates of returns are, say, significantly greater than the inflation rate. That's what we call the fun money, right? Let's just say we have a bang up year in the market and you're like, hey, I've got this cash flow, it's coming in, it's going great, I saw great returns in my portfolio. Do you think I could just take some icing off the top and just go and buy a boat? It's just let's do the math, let's figure it out.
Check.
It's your play check.
Yes.
There you go, yeah.
Timing matters to this. I mentioned the massive numbers that we've talked, Brittany, and I don't want to throw this up, but it's now ringing in my head. Bang, bang, bang. We had 3 years of increased record numbers. Why? Well, market moved really well. And while that was happening, our interest rates were remaining high for a long period of time. Can you talk to me about why maybe we remain in that window, and yet the window may be closing as we have a new Fed chair approaching and start to work? How does that correlate for how it works for us? And we always talk about timing the market. Dangerous. But understanding the timing of something that can be a guaranteed income for us matters at the time we do it.
Yep, it does matter at the time you do it, but it also incorporates that you are able to change those indices in your annuity every 12 months. So we can look at what the market corrections have done, what everything has done over those 12 months. And the advisor will look at how it's performed, and we can say, all right, we're going to move a little bit more into the fixed bucket, or we're going to move a little bit more to the S&P 500. So there are ways to kind of look at that as a whole, even though you're already in the contract.
As we talk about this, and I want to go to objections, and I apologize, Blake, because my mind starts going on this because I hear people's objections. It's not liquid for me. I want something that's always going to be liquid. How liquid in most of these products, as you're dealing with people on these, do we have to understand how much we can get, at what time, over what period, which also dictates the purpose of why we're moving into what we're moving into?
You have to keep that into consideration. You absolutely have to, even from a suitability and a recommendation standpoint.
Yeah.
Let's just say you want safety, but you need to be able to have access to that money
I know I'm going to
immediately.
need X.
Right. So there are different companies that we use, and given that we're fiduciaries, we don't work with just one company, right? We can work with hundreds of different companies or hundreds of different solutions to specifically meet our client needs. So if an individual comes to me and they're like, hey, I want safety, but I have to start taking $1,000 a month, what are we gonna do? Like, okay, based off of these parameters and what you want, maybe we go with this company. Then you may have another client who says, hey, I want safety. I'm not gonna touch this money for maybe 6 years. And after the end of 6 years, I want a steady, predictable, reliable cash flow. And so in our minds, from an analysis standpoint, we're like, hey, which type of solution is going to give them the greatest cash flow at year 6? Maybe that's what we use, but we then illustrate that, as Brittany had said, walk through the pros and the cons, because there's give and take for everything. We put it in our income plan. We talk about the tax liabilities associated to it. So it's a lot more than just like, yeah, one size fits all. This is the company we're going with. This is the product that we're going with. That's a fool's errand.
And Brittany, is it fair to say that because of the success of these, competition breeds better products? The idea that if somebody's offering something and people are suddenly starting to go with that, and you mentioned a bunch of companies, maybe at this company we're now in a 6-year better plan than another, has it bred better options for the clients now in a lot of these cases?
I believe that it has, because like he said, we work with so many different companies that we can look at their caps, we can look at their par rates, we can find what is best for their client, and then it forces the insurance companies to also look at how they're releasing their indices and their caps and their par rates and saying, am I doing better than the one next to me? Because it's a competition for them.
And if it is a competition, then it's understanding what's best out there, which is why you need an expert to put these things together for you. It is conquering retirement in the way that you need it done for you, because your situation is going to be different than everyone else's. 877-241-7430. Let's put together a plan for you. And just exploring the idea of, is this something that works for me? Maybe despite what I've heard from Jack at the water cooler or Susie down the lane, the understanding is at Northern Alliance Financial, they do this every day for hundreds and thousands of people. Maybe it's right for you. Maybe it's not. And maybe it's just time for a second opinion to understand. 877-241-7430. Let's find out for you. We'll be right back.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination rain on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Glad you're with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansson, Blake King, Brittany Harrington, Northern Alliance Financial. We're talking the A word. It's annuities today. And are they right for you? Do you need to explore? There seems to be nothing, Blake, that we can talk about that doesn't deal with taxes. So do we need to pay attention to taxes when we start doing the annuity discussion and how we do it?
We absolutely do. That's something that's always top of mind in our planning practice. Is we have to be aware of what the potential tax liabilities are going to be for every single decision that we make, right? Whether we go in the market or whether we do an annuity. So the big thing that you kind of just need to think of is that with regards to qualified accounts, whether that be a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, that's the overarching umbrella. We just happen to put an annuity inside of that if it's appropriate for you. So it follows that tax code of a traditional or a Roth IRA. But what if you're using like after-tax money? What if you're just taking money from the bank or money from a CD and you're putting it in an annuity? The unique thing about annuities is that they are tax-deferred accounts. So say you've got a $100,000 CD at the bank and it's yielding you 4%.
Okay.
Well, guess what? You just had to pay taxes or recognize $4,000 as ordinary income. And you have to pay taxes on that, even though you may have not done anything with the money.
Okay.
You got to pay taxes. When you put it in what's known as a multi-year guaranteed annuity, it's basically that interest that you earn that year is not taxable. The only time it is taxable is when you pull it out. So think of it from like a tax planning strategy and looking at provisional income with Social Security. How is my Social Security going to be taxed? Is there a way for me to be able to lower my provisional income so 0% of my Social Security benefits going to be taxed? Absolutely. There's tools and resources to be able to do that, but it's important that it's communicated with you in a way that you understand so that you can see the value and importance of it.
Okay, that leads me to the next question. Communicated to you in a way that you understand. How often do people actually understand what they own? You're laughing already. Is it a low amount that people actually understand or have been sold into products that they really don't know what they're in?
I come across clients that have been sold annuities previous to working with us that have no idea how they work. So we'll sit down and do an analysis of that with the client. So whether they bring in their most recent statement, whether we sit and do a conference call with the annuity company to dig out a little bit more information. I had a client, she was a single woman and she had this annuity for 10 years and she'd just been taking out systematic free withdrawals. And so I got her on the phone and I said, you know, what's your goal here? And she was trying to meet an income gap. And I looked at her contract and I explained, I was like, you have a lifetime income rider on this. And she had no clue. So we immediately turned that on for her. It bridged her income gap and it didn't lower the accumulation value like she had been doing by taking out systematic.
Is that part of this, Blake, that a lot of people are, for lack of a better term, told and sold? Here's what you need to be in. You don't need to understand it. Let's put you in this right now. And for lack of a better term, people have trusted advisors who are simply out for themselves to say, let's get something off and we'll deal with this later. You don't need to worry about the details. When you talked about having an illustration for everybody, is an illustration always done so that you completely understand how this is going to work from year 1 to year 10? Here are the surrender charges that we're going to have to deal with. And maybe I've even brought up a term that people don't know about that there are penalties associated with this if you don't understand the product that you're in.
There is. And one thing that we pride ourselves at Northern Alliance Financial is full transparency, right? There's been a lot of clients that have come through my door and they've been like, yeah, I've got this fee on this account. What does this fee mean? No one's ever explained to me what this fee means. Is that the money you're taking from me?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no. That's the money you're paying the insurance company for this specific rider. And here is the benefit of that rider. And I would say 90% of the time, they're like, that was never explained to me.
Yeah.
They were told me, hey, this is what I need to do with my money and it's gonna be safe. And they didn't actually even explain to me the mechanics of how it works. And I think that's where there's a lot of negative connotation surrounding it, because you can make an annuity sound like the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Sure.
Hey, you got something, it's never gonna lose money, you're gonna have cash flow forever, you're never gonna have to worry about anything. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. But once you start taking a look under the hood and be like, hey, you can only pull out X number of dollars a year. If you do that, you're getting hit with penalties. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Let's lower my withdrawal so I don't do penalties. So it's ongoing service and education throughout the entire process so that it's just working in your best interest.
So to your point of lack of knowledge, and you said this, Brittany, people have come in and say, I don't know what I'm in. Can people be in something, in an annuity, that with a second opinion from Northern Alliance, we may say, you know what? We may have something better at this point because of the interest rates, because of where you are time-wise in this contract, that we can make this better for you now?
Absolutely. We'll have clients that come in, and if we see one that hasn't performed, the caps and par rates are not good, we can do what we call a replacement. So we'll find a product that's actually going to fit their goals, and we'll replace the contract that they have with a new contract. And there are different products that have bonuses, so actually you're not losing any of your accumulation value. So in some cases, we're actually starting them at a higher accumulation value than they were at their old contract.
Options. I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? I don't think anybody's trying to say, you have to have this. This is one of those things that, should we explore, is this an option for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a conversation, right? It's like, I love talking about it because it's like, I really don't know if it is right for you. That's how I broach it, is like, but this is a tool in my tool belt. So let's get some good education surrounding this so that you can make the decision as to whether or not it's good for you, so that you can have peace of mind knowing that you did the right thing.
Time for a second opinion for you. 877-241-7430. Let's at least explore the options. Let's go through the toolbox and see whether there's something that's right for you to make your retirement right. Let's conquer your retirement individually, just for you. Make the call. Do that for yourself. Then let's see you in the office and put together a plan for you. We'll see you right back here next time on Conquering Retirement. Thanks for spending time with us. We'll see you next time.